I'll get us started with today's sponsors is the beautiful Surf Sunshine Citrus. Go get yourself. Thanks for sponsoring us today, and they might send us a whole year's supply of that one day. Grant Boof Henson, thanks for joining us and really appreciate your time. Hey, fill everyone in on where you're at and what you're up to these days.
Hey, bro. Yeah, just working for Counties Manukau Rugby. One of my roles is coach development manager. It's a full-time role. You'll be familiar with that one. And my other one is assistant coach of the Steelers. Part-time in name, but probably more full-time than the other role in some cases. So, yeah that's it's bloody good to be working in rugby still.
Yeah, well, touch on that, bro. Is that was the goal for you to get back involved with rugby and then ultimately coaching? Was that a bit of an aim when you were playing?
Yeah. I always wanted to be a coach. Sort of, as a lot of players do and still do. The guys I coach, they coach while they play. So that was always something I did and thought that'd be a nice thing to follow in after the career. Didn't happen straight away, but the opportunity came and got into it. I was lucky the opportunity came and took it with both arms. So here I am.
Yeah. Hey, well, take us through that journey. When did you finish playing, and what were your first initial steps? And how did you start that coaching journey? What did you do first, coaching-wise?
Yeah, it started. I finished playing in 2011. For the Steelers that year. That was my final year. Played a couple more seasons of club rugby after that, but the body was getting a bit old and tired by that point.
So what, 200 games, aren't you, for Woku?
Yeah, I actually got my 200th out there this year. I went back and played a couple of games, but I don't recommend it over 40. My first sort of taste of coaching was I did a paper at AUT. I did a diploma, sports diploma, and part of that was effective coaching. That was one of the papers.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was with a guy named Kevin Sheehy. I don't know if you know him. And I learned a few bit off him, and then I did I think it was called the PORC, Principles of Rugby Coaching for Players in 2007. And there was a few guys. Nick White was on that course, and obviously down in Palmy, yeah, and I think Skells run it. Skells, yeah. So that was my first real course of it, and got a bit of a feel for it. And then when I finished playing, I was still playing club, but when I finished playing rep, I did the DRC course run by my predecessor here, and now my boss, Damien Chaney.
Yeah.
And also Bill Cooksley down in Thames Valley. I did a couple of modules with him. So got into it, learned a bit more about process, and then coached the Counties 20s. One year of that, and then Steve Jackson moved up to Harbour. Opportunity came up here, and Tana told me that I should apply for the job, and so I applied straight away. And the rest is kind of history. Yeah, I've been with it since then. So I've just finished my 4th season of coaching Mitre 10 Cup. So,
so you did some study while you were playing, the odd paper at AUT that gave you a bit of insight. And then you did the actual coaching course, one with players, that one in Palmy, and then the one run by Damo. And was it a pretty easy decision to go all in at coaching when Tana asked?
Yeah, it was. Well, see, I wasn't all in, so it's like I say, it's a part-time role. So it's definitely an opportunity, and at that time I'd started up a business which I'd been running for probably just over a year or a year and a half at that point. So it was kind of a risky thing to do because it was a sole trading business, meaning I'm the only employee. So I had to find someone reliable to look after that while the Mitre 10 or ITM Cup was then, while that season was on. So it was. It wasn't a real easy decision in terms of the financial side of things, and my business was going to be at risk a little bit. But I knew that's where my passion is. So if I missed that opportunity, I'm not sure when the next one would come. So I had to probably make the most of it, it's about choices, eh? So yeah, went with my passion, and yeah, here I am now.
And so that's probably a key crossroads that a lot of athletes or players are going to come at. Do they jump into coaching or do they leave whatever it is, if it's a career or a business, to the side? So how did you weigh that up, bro?
I weighed it up. I mean, I was lucky enough I had a mentor in my business. So my business, it wasn't like a big, massive business or anything. It was a lawn mowing and gardening business.
Yeah.
And I had a guy that I could trust, and he actually knew another guy who'd done it before and was looking. He'd just finished work and was looking to do it again. So that was a big factor in being able to get a guy that I could trust, know someone who'd done it before, who could take that over and run it properly for me while I was away.
Yeah.
And obviously, actually at that time I had another kid on the way, so it was quite scary. Quite scary then. My wife was a very big supporting factor, and she obviously, knew what I'd been involved with rugby in the past and how big a part of my life that was. And at that time I wasn't involved in any rugby other than a bit of playing, but not to the level I had been. And so she could sort of sense that she said I was depressed. I'm not sure I was. But yeah, she sensed that I probably needed to get back in and follow my passion again.
Hey, that's bloody interesting, eh? Everyone we've spoken to is the wives and the partners are a real crucial role in, that transition journey. So when she said that, what would we have seen if there was a GoPro following Boof around in those early days after playing footy? What led her to say that? Is there anything that we would have seen, or what does a sad or a bit of a not so high in life Boof look like?
I think you'd probably see a grumpy old man at home. Come home from work. So before I started my business, actually, I hadn't had a trade. I'd never really followed through with anything as far as jobs. All my jobs that I'd had, so I never cracked full professional rugby. So all of my jobs sort of revolved around part-time or semi-professional rugby. Right. So jobs to get me through to the next part of my rugby in that season. So when I finished rugby, I went and worked in a quarry, driving a bloody loader or a dump truck, and just sitting basically you're in a box and you're by yourself in the radio. So I got into listening to News Talk ZB because music was boring me. And I think coming out of rugby, where you've got all your mates and you're always next to someone and you're working together and you're in the hard times together and the good times together, being chucked into a loader. Basically, what I related to was counting rocks, because that's what we deal with in quarries.
Yeah.
All day was mind-numbing. So I'd come home and probably, just take it out on the missus and kids. Yeah. Not so I wasn't violent or anything like that.
Just grumpy.
Just grumpy, yeah. Grumpy. And I didn't think I was at the time, but now I look back, she's dead right. Wow. Just needed that outlet, I think, of the footy.
And man, that's a real, I think, a critical awareness there, Boof, is actually knowing, because I know myself this year, I didn't know, and I was grumpy and wasn't following my passion. And you can tell when you are following your passion, though, can't you?
Yeah, you can. I think it's that. I think it's called dopamine or something. Yeah, you get a bit of a high. Yeah, and once you're back in it, and straight away you feel that on the inside. You just get like a better feeling in your gut, and you can actually feel you start to smile again. You feel it in your eye.
Yeah.
I think, thinking back, I think through those times I probably never really smiled properly. I'd have fun with my kids, but a lot of the time I'd be thinking about just shit, and they'd be forced smiles for my kids. Never really felt it properly. So once I got back into the footy, man, it was more fulfilling. You're working towards something that you love, and when you get home, you feel like you've achieved something.
Yeah.
Yeah, or still working towards achieving something, but yeah, it's just felt more fulfilling and happy inside.
Yeah, and look, what's your advice then for those athletes, who are going to go through transition, or some may even be going through it, as we speak, to get out of that? What helped you get out of that, or get over that wall, or get out of that hole?
Definitely my wife was a big part of it, so, I'm probably an old school sort of Kiwi bloke, I guess, and we've heard about it heaps this year with the speak up stuff. And probably still do to an extent, keep things inside. I'll be all right, I deal with it my own way. But my wife, being a woman, she always tries to get me to open up, and she like, I wouldn't open up to her straight away.
Yeah.
But I'd go and think about it, and then, I'd admit to myself she's right, and then we'd start talking about things. But one thing, because I was in a quarry and it was boring the shit out of me. So we discussed starting a business, and instead of buying a franchise, I took on the challenge of starting from scratch and just using my rugby connections. And for me, and I'd probably recommend doing it to other rugby guys maybe, it gave me a buzz. So I'd go to a job, I'd do a really good job, be it mowing a lawn or section clearing or trimming hedges or planting hedges, whatever it was, and then the word gets around. So it's actually a buzz. More people ring you up.
Yeah.
Didn't advertise or anything. Yeah, and you're starting to get that dopamine hit again.
Yes.
So the business side of things and building something from scratch was a real good buzz. It was risky, but at the same time, it was a good buzz because you had to put a lot of effort into it, and that sort of helped me learn a lot about drive again. And because when you're playing rugby, you've got to get up, you've got to train, you've got something to aim for.
Yeah.
When I was driving a loader at a quarry, it wasn't my loader, it wasn't my trucks, it was just rocks going into something I didn't really care about. But when I had that business, it's mine, it's my name on it. People are ringing me because they've heard what a good job I do, and it sort of gave me something to aim for and fulfillment again.
Mate, massively so. I'm hearing that sense of achievement, but also a sense of significance. You go from this team environment where you're a key cog in the wheel of a rugby team to then going out there and maybe not being so valued or so significant if you're working for someone else, or if you're in a role that's not engaging with your values, I suppose, to then starting your own business. That's almost like taking on the competition, isn't it? It's a new tournament, it's a new format, and like you say, that buzz of getting new clients, having success, that just is all like winning a game.
Yeah, I think you've hit it on the head there, actually, JT, with the success. You get, that's probably what it was. You start to feel, because like I say, it started from nothing. With, I rang up my mate at Self-Help Motors, Matthew Newman.
Yeah, Mr. Newman.
Yeah, Mr. Newman, good man. Can I mow your lawn at Self-Help? Because I just wanted to, and he said, yep, I've got three car yards, you can mow them. And then when I went and looked, the lawns are massive. So straight away, all right. So do an awesome job there, and he's complimenting me, and it just gives you confidence, and you're achieving that success. Someone else rings you up, then you've got real estate companies, and they're all ringing you up. And yeah, I think you nailed it there with that success word that you used, because when you're playing rugby, obviously success is on the field and it's very black and white, but the business side of it, building something from scratch up to something that's reasonably successful.
And look, athletes out there and players out there have got to understand that they've got these success principles that they've learned week in, week out. You went out there and did those things every week for Counties or Waiuku, and it's just about applying it in that different industry.
Yeah, I think so. You can take a lot, like you say, it's probably a place for it. I'm sure that people do it. Take their learnings from being within a team and how they'd apply that in real life. And not just the team thing, the individual training. We've all heard about Richie McCaw and how he was running up on those mountains and wanted to be the greatest and all that stuff. He had individual drive, and I think being able to transfer that into real life is massively important, but we're not all sure how to do it. I think the PD these days is good for them. I probably should sit on a bit more as a coach into the players' PD sessions, because it's going to be vital for them once that rugby's gone. They need to transfer those skills that they've learned day in, day out through club rugby, Mitre 10 Cup, Super, whatever it is, and put that into whatever they do next, or whatever we do.
Definitely. So, hey, who helped you the most with that, taking that leap? Because it is a leap of faith at times, like you say, there's a little bit of risk going from being an employee to running your own business from scratch. Who helped?
Yeah, from scratch. Again, hey, I just used a lot of my club contacts at that time. So I'd actually moved from Waiuku and played a couple of seasons at Onewhiro. And so now I had a broader network of people as well. So I used a lot of the people that I was with at Onewhiro. Also used a lot of the people out at Waiuku there, and people just all through counties. They all gave me their backing, and said that they'd spread the word and chuck whatever work they had at me. But obviously, I'll say it again, it was my wife that was the biggest supporter and giving me that leap of faith, because we were in it together. 3 kids, or 2 kids, with 1 on the way at that time. We've got 4 now. So yeah, we're going into the, an extra kid coming, but we're going to go start a business. We don't know how successful it's going to be, but she just gave me the full backing, like she did through my rugby, to go and chase something new, because she knew me sitting in a box loading rocks into a truck wasn't doing me any good inside.
Yeah. Oh, man, we owe our wives a lot, don't we? A lifetime of massages, I'm sure.
Funny that. Yeah, I owe a couple. From laughing.
Hey, so when you had to make that decision then about maybe leaving the business, was that leaving the business full-time, or just for the period of ITM when you started coaching, or, you jumped in the coach development role and assistant coach full-time? So then did you have to leave the business completely then?
Yeah, good question, that one. So when I first got the coaching role with Tana, I was just doing it through the ITM period. So 3.5, 4 months sort of, plus, Mondays and Wednesday nights with the group, building up. So for the first couple of years, I was just doing that. So I'd get a caretaker in for my business for that period, then go back and take it over again. And I did that for a couple of years, and then the coach development role came up at Counties Manukau, and I still love my business. I actually really enjoyed the work. It was physical, it was out in the sunshine, and that's good for you as well. Yeah. But I thought if I wanted to take the next step in my coaching, I'd have to find a way to give rugby a lot more time to do it properly. So this opportunity came up. I applied for the role and I got it. And at that time, I had someone running my business, but they weren't doing the job that I would have done. So I had to make a decision, and I ended up selling the business. It was giving me too many headaches, trying to hold a full time, getting the phone calls of things that weren't going right. So I ended up selling that, and now I'm full-time into rugby. I mean, it's, as you know, it's full on. It's time consuming, but most of the time it doesn't really feel like a job, because it's something that I love doing, and I know you did too. So, it doesn't feel like a job. I'm sure mum and kids at home, they know it's a job because I'm not there most of the time, or a lot of the time. But again, when I am there, I'm probably a lot more happier than I was. Well, I am a lot more happier than I was, so I'm not that grumpy old bugger.
Yeah. Hey, and look, you took those small steps into coaching first, with the 20s, because you were coaching on the fiddle as well, weren't you? Player coach, or just club stuff? So what recommendations would you give to other players who want to make that transition, take those small steps as well, so when this opportunity comes, in the semi-professional stage, that they've had some experience? Or what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think so. I never played Super Rugby, so obviously a lot of the players that I coach are coming from a level above what I played back down. So maybe for them, they may be able to go straight into a Mitre 10 Cup gig. But I would say that it will be tough because delivery is the key. Like when you're playing, and like I said, I was coaching while I was playing for 10, 12 years, probably longer. But when you leave, because when you're playing, you can say what to do, then do it, and players will follow you. And when you're not playing, you can't show them what to do as much. You can't just go out and do it. Nice. So you've got to learn. Yeah, you've got to learn how to get your information across. You've got to learn how they learn, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So then what you say will have an effect on them, and that will impact them enough for them to change behaviour.
Yeah, and you can't just tell someone, don't do that, do this, because they won't know what you're talking about. You're speaking a different language.
Yeah.
Not literally, but, it's not true to them. So I think they're under 20 stuff, and even not so much the player coaching stuff, because like I say, you can still do it, but definitely the under 20 stuff I did was massive learnings for me. Young group, a different generation to what I was. You had to think about what you were saying constantly. And I think you had to show, not show, but demonstrate and get them to do a lot more. And how do you go about doing that? Because you can go in, talk. Nothing happens and there's no learning. And if I was to do that at Steelers level, straight off, I'd probably get eaten up and spat out, and I probably wouldn't be doing it now. Because, I had some bloody experienced players in my first year. Pauliasi Manu, Jimmy Tupou had been around a while by then. Yeah. Jordan Pelfua was in the squad.
So how did you cope with that? What was your strategy there, Boof? First year, you rock up. These boys come back from Crusaders and whatnot. What was your approach?
That was my biggest learnings as a coach, I think. So we started the season, we had the Shield at that time. And so we had a few earlier games where we didn't have our Super Boys. And because I played 100 games for the Steelers, and I'd had a bit of mana with the boys I was coaching. And like I said before, I'd never played Super. So all of a sudden I had these guys that had played a higher level than me come back, and I was a first-time coach at that level. And I've got all this information coming from the Blues over here and the Chiefs over here and the Crusaders, what they were doing. And all of a sudden I had these egos. They're all egos. They're big.
We've all got those.
We've got them. And I definitely had one, or have one. And they're in the games that are full of testosterone, and they want to get their views across. So there was a key moment there. I think Jordan is quite a vocal leader, and he's very direct. He knows what he wants, which is awesome. And I was the same at when I was playing. So I could have argued with him, butted heads, and gone in with two different ideas. But what I decided to do, and I just stepped back, took a deep breath, and I'd learnt this. I can't remember I'd learnt it, but probably through my own playing, actually. And there was one moment I just realised, shit, I must have been the coach. And I just stepped back and I listened. And then there was a moment there where I just decided, well, I'm better off to go with what these boys think is right and facilitate that rather than butt heads with these guys and we're going to get nowhere all year. So a lot of that was happening in front of the whole group or say a couple of sessions. And that's when I realised, shit, this is not good. This is dividing things. I'll take a step back. I'll pull my ego in.
Yeah. And
I'll go with what these boys want because they're going to own it in the end anyway. And we'll facilitate that and move forward.
Yeah, and that's a key word you use there, Boof, facilitation. So, I mean, where do you learn that after playing 100 games in the front row, or was it with the wife, learning facilitation skills at home, or with the kids?
It's a constant, that facilitation. honestly think I just learnt it on the run in that week or two. And my first season, obviously I had a bloody good mentor at that time was Tana. So, you know, I could voice my concerns or my learnings or everything to him. And, you know, he'd been coaching for a little while by then. So he helped me a lot at that point. Also, my level 2 educator, Damo, I'd still go back and, bro, can you come watch my sessions? These are my challenges at the moment. And he got me through a lot of that too. It just gives you the confidence that what you are doing is good. But he goes, bro, you know what I do on those coaching courses? I said, you teach us how to coach. He goes, yeah, but what am I doing most of the time? You know, and I didn't know what he was getting. He said, bro, I'm just using all you guys. So what I'm doing is I'm facilitating all your information there because you've played bloody a lot of rugby and this guy over here's played a lot. So I'm actually facilitating what you guys do. And that runs my course for me. So there was another light bulb moment for me. I could do that with these players because they're a shitload of information from everywhere, around the country, around the world in some cases.
Yeah.
So I'll facilitate their info and just move forward as a group.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, so, I mean, it sounds like that first year there was some great gold that came out of that, and now it's helped mould you as the coach you are today. So what message would you give to your younger self around that being a coach? You know, if you were to go back 6 years or so when you're thinking about coaching or coaching around the club, under 20s, what would be the biggest piece of advice?
I would tell myself to listen to other players and coaches more. Listen and truly listen. Because you can hear things, and we've all heard this, but you can hear things, but you're not truly listening. Because that gives perspective. And I think through my playing days, I was just, it's my way or the highway type thing.
Right.
I think listening, asking, because, you know, if you ask more, then you can listen more. Ask more questions and listen to what the actual answers are and collaborate all of that information to give perspective on how to coach, because we coach so many walks of life. And if you're going with one way, I think you're going to just get burnt.
Yeah.
So listen to every person that's involved.
Hey, well, look, wrapping up here, Boof, I just think it's a pretty awesome journey to share, you know, going from being like, say, 100 games at Counties, mate, you know, this, I'm going to call you a logo, you know, there's the Steelers logo and then there's the Boof logo. That's how much part of the furniture you are. To then, like you say, working in a job that wasn't fulfilling for you and you then decided to find something that was fulfilling, taking all those traits from rugby, applying it into your business, starting from scratch, and then now, you know, getting into that coaching journey. It's you got to write a book, bro.
I have to learn how to write first, bro.
No, there's technology for that. You just speak into it and then it'll make all the words come up.
Yeah, it could be the next chapter, eh? I'll write a book since the pun there.
Hey, well, thanks for sharing, Boof. Really appreciate that insight. We could seriously go on and on because there's a bit more there to unpack. Just who was your mentor when you jumped into that business?
A guy named Mike Tate, he was a bloody good friend of mine by the end of that 3 years, and he's actually passed on now. So,
right.
Yeah, we got pretty tight. He was like a bit of a brother to me, or an older brother. And he's gone now, but he helped me through a lot of stuff through that business. And
how did you find him? Like, I know people out there will be going, right, well, I know I need a mentor, but where do I go for these? Well, again, I was lucky. He was part of the Oni Fiddle Club, and just got chatting to him over a beer after a game one day, and it was probably meant to be. It just fell into place, and so a club contact, part of the network. Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's so valuable in itself. Everyone who we've talked to has said, make use of your contacts. You know, talk to them after the games. Go see, like your first client was one of the county sponsors. You know, go talk to them.
Yeah, you have to. Eh? I mean, that's the beauty of our game in this country. It pretty much touches every New Zealander. So, you know, it's going to get around, and you've got to use those networks that you build.
Yeah. Hey, Boof, thanks so much for sharing. And I just want to make one more plug for today's sponsor, the Surf Citrus. Go out and buy you some for today's washing. Beautiful day in the bay. So JT and Boof out, eh?
Awesome, brother. Cheers.